It's a homemade science fiction TV show, heavily inspired by Star Trek, amongst other things, which I'm sure is more than a little bit obvious.
I've never seen Star Trek. I thought I should point this out now. It is based on Star Trek, isn't it? It is a spoof. An homage. Okay.
It's a bit silly, obviously it's very low budget and cheap, but occasionally I think it punches above its weight, and those are some good moments too.
Fallen Star is the brainchild of Daniel James and Robert Allen, who began development of the concept in early 2009, but it wasn't the first project they worked on together. To understand how they got to this point, we first need to go back a few years.
My interest in filmmaking stems back to when I was about 7, I think, around that sort of age. My uncle Bob, he lent me his video camera. That was it, I was hooked. So I went to school thinking, I want to be a camera operator, I want to be a camera operator. My teacher actually gave us the key to the media room. He used to go home at night and said, there you go, make sure you lock up when you're done. So we used to just stay around and muck around with all the equipment. After school, I went to college. I did a national diploma in media, where I learnt sort of a little bit more in depth on how to actually create proper films and create documentaries. My friend Russell and I, we got together, we created this project called A Lost Stand, which we did on our own, but because of all our backgrounds, both of our backgrounds, we were able to create it quite successfully, although looking back on it now you kind of think, yeah, should have cleaned the lens.
How long will that take? Do you have surplus time then? Yes. Why? What are we doing with our precious time? Being alert.
But it wasn't until early in 2008 that the seeds were set for an epic collaboration with Daniel James, a visual effects hobbyist looking for a project.
I think I've always had an interest in movie magic. I think that stems from an interest in actual magic tricks. It's that you're creating illusions of something that you're trying to trick people into thinking is real, and that is something that appeals to me. This coin.
Daniel started working on short visual effects videos to test what was possible for a novice to achieve. It sparked an interest from Robert, who was keen to put these skills to use, and so the first ideas began to brew in their collective mind.
We wanted to do a film trailer because it's short and it would be quite interesting, and I thought we had the equipment and tools necessary to do it. You obviously had a background in filmmaking, so we combined our powers. And we thought that it was something that would be quite funny. I
was in Premium Bond. I believe I had to drink half a bottle of tequila just to manage it, and I barely remember anything from that evening, other than being pretty drunk, but I very much enjoyed it. My mum is obsessed with Premium Bond and shows everybody who comes around. She gets it up on YouTube and everyone loves it.
That was literally playing on my computer over and over again. I was nearly in Premium Bond, but it was my exam times during university, and I don't know if I would have been as good at taking a pack of cards in the face.
Access to an aircraft was doable. We involved one of my ex-colleagues now, Marco.
Marco, yeah.
He come and started the engine for us, and just a bit of health and safety.
Looks like rates are dropping fast.
It was a fun little thing to make, and I enjoyed it immensely.
It was good fun doing that one as well.
Had the classic Wilhelm scream.
And a lightsaber, and they have become ongoing staples of our film since then. So look out for them and listen out for them.
Yep, because they are all in there.
So we held a premiere night, a red carpet event.
Absolutely.
It's just an excuse to get friends together and drink some martinis and
dress up.
Yeah, exactly. But I think people enjoyed it.
Oh, I thought Premium Bond was wonderful. I used to shout to all my friends at uni and be like, this is what my mates get up to at home, you know, and they have jobs.
I did like it. It was very cool.
That's what sort of encouraged us to carry on and do more ambitious things.
Slightly more ambitious.
In 2009, the pair decided they wanted to follow up their short film with another.
You know, obviously it had to be something we were able to do, something within our budget. We settled on the Star Trek idea because that was quite appealing. So the first thing we did, we sat down, we did some sketches, we did some designs, started coming up with a few ideas for characters and names and things like that, and it went from there.
We needed a location to build sets. So one of the places that I work at has got some aircraft hangars which we potentially could have used. Thankfully, we didn't, because not long after we started shooting, they actually knocked the whole place down inside and built a car showroom in there. We eventually come up with our local scout hall. It was a big space, and during the summer months, nobody ever used it. So we got in contact with the owners and had a bit of a chat, told them what we wanted to do, and they agreed. So we had the mammoth mission of building this set in this scout hall.
If we'd had permanent access to our set, we could have made Fallen Star an episodic show right from the start. We could just churn out another episode like once every month or once every 6 months or something, which is a little bit naive and optimistic of me, I must say. Unfortunately, we only had it for a 6-week period, only enough time to shoot footage for one episode. So that was when we decided, okay, it's not going to be a series, it's just going to be one episode. We're going to make it as best as we can do.
While they designed the layout of the set and figured out how they were going to build it, Daniel was hard at work constructing the exterior of the ship, what was to become the HMS Britannic.
I sat down with the computer software, the 3D modelling package, and I just sat and learned how to build things and put shapes together, and yeah, it was a process that took several weeks or months possibly, I can't remember, and I just started playing around with some shapes and seeing what looked good, and that's kind of how we made the Britannic. Our set,
I think the designs had handrails around the back, big computer screens.
Yeah, we wanted to have doors that actually opened and closed.
That's right, we did, didn't we? Have somebody actually pulling them apart.
All sorts of big intent. I had no idea how we were going to make this at the time.
No.
We built the set using these 8-foot tall wooden stage flats. We worked out how many we had, how big they were, the best way to arrange them, and then we were like, okay, so our bridge isn't quite as big as we thought it was going to be.
I think on paper it seemed rather large, didn't it?
Yeah, we were a little bit creative with moving the chair and the consoles around a little bit. So if we're shooting something on the right side, we push the chair over to the left a bit. If we're shooting on the left, we move to the right a bit. And we took a few trips to B&Q, let's just say. We painted, we had some hardboard sheets.
Yes, big old hardboard sheets that were about 8 foot by 4 foot. And then to cover up all the gaps, we used the age-old method. Masking tape it up, paint it, you won't see it. Made little buttons out of tops, wasn't it, of milk bottle tops.
And then all the buttons on the panels are just bits of square cards cut out.
I think it looked quite effective.
I like our little flashing lights.
Yeah, you got some LEDs, some
LEDs,
battery-powered LEDs.
Christmas lights.
But the carpet, well, we needed something to cover the floor, because all we had was a wooden floor. And as luck would have it, I was at work one day and they were deciding to redo the reception, and they just said, right, we're going to rip up the carpet. So I had a word with the boss and said, can I steal the carpet? And they were thinking, yeah, sure, get rid of it. Dragged it down to the hall, unravelled it, and it worked perfectly. I think we had, I think we cut it in half or something and then split it into 2 parts.
Yeah.
I had to go and help with the set construction because a certain Mr. Allen was a little incapacitated.
I was hungover and not very well.
Yeah.
So
we got by without you.
Due to its tiny budget, the scope of Fallen Star was limited. Unable to use elaborate locations and large set pieces, Daniel and Robert intentionally limited the action to scenes set on the ship's bridge.
We could have just had 45 minutes of people sitting on the bridge, staring at the view screen, watching things happen in front of them. That would have been a bit boring. There is a little bit of that, but I think our limitations help to define what the episode would be about. Usually in futuristic science fiction shows, everyone is American, but we're an all-British cast, so we've got the American character who's used to all this high-tech stuff, and he's stuck on the low-tech ship, so he can reference all these things. He can talk about this. He can say, oh, on my ship we've got this, that and the other, and great big control rooms, and you know, your stuff looks like crap, what the hell is this? You know, so we can have all that, we can reference all that, and we can have him talking about that, and we don't have to show any of it. Looks like something I played with in preschool.
Well, I'm terribly sorry, sir. Our space program is obviously not as well funded as yours.
We didn't want Star Trek style, I'm an alien, I've got a bumpy forehead, so we didn't do aliens.
No, we just heard them.
You hear them, you see their spaceships, you see their planet, but you never see them.
No.
The name. See, I haven't even said it now and you're already laughing.
We had a bit of a tiff with the Smagulons.
Every time someone hears Smagulons for the first time, they laugh.
It's great. Dan smiling.
Who's a Smagula?
There's a bit of a Red Dwarf inspiration there. Because like, what if you're like Smegulons or something? And you're like, no, you can't call them that. That's silly. So we changed it to Smagulons.
Smagulons. Yeah.
While Premium Bond was made from just a storyboard, Fallen Star would require a real script, something neither man had any experience writing.
We split the script kind of in two. So we went away and wrote these different halves separately. We came back and kind of went to put the scripts together and realised that we'd had different characters doing completely different things. I think in your version the Captain Knight had gone down to the planet,
yeah.
And in my version he hadn't.
Where Premium Bond proved popular was in its silly humour, puns and daft style of comedy. Could that work again in a completely different setting?
It's more serious with comedy bits and silly bits, like people not realising stuff or just...
Yeah, there are concessions to comedy, so I think you've got Knight being oblivious to people fancying him, and you've got the bit where the Smagulons just decide they're just going to lower their shields because we're not really humans, honest.
Yeah, we hate humans, so we just come looking for their wreckage, and they're like, yeah, alright then, whatever, just drop the shields, that's fine.
You've also got the fact that no one realises that Volgin is is a Russian spy, which is silly. It's spoof. We don't break the fourth wall at any point. We don't go completely farcical.
No, not at all.
To cast Fallen Star, the pair looked to their circle of friends, particularly those with previous acting experience. But the choice to cast themselves as the two leading roles was born of convenience and practicality.
Yeah, that
and a little bit of ego.
Last time I was acting was probably when I was trying to get a sick day off of school and I was telling my mum that I had a cold.
I've pretty much had no acting experience save for some school plays when I was 8 years old or something. I played Jesus Christ in a play. That was great. I got to be crucified. I was very cross.
I had very small parts in school plays, which was the previous century, of course.
I trod the boards a couple of times with an acting group called Goodonians.
I've been in lots of plays on stage, although until Premium Bond I'd never been acting on camera, so it is a very different thing.
Yeah, I find it much harder in front of a camera. I think a stage is much easier.
You don't have to learn the lines properly, and the director doesn't mind if you occasionally change the words. You can't do that with Shakespeare.
We attempted to hold a casting session. We turned up to it.
Yep. So we just sat down and cast it ourselves and then just told the people.
Asked them, so, would you like to be this character? Yeah, sure, okay, great.
I pretty much had no choice, as my husband is one of the co-creators. Really, no hope in hell of getting out of it.
My boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, was involved in the previous Alan James project.
And yeah, it's gone on from there, and that was supposed to be just a few little weeks of messing around. And they said, oh, let's do another thing, that's a good idea.
It was just assumed that he'd been involved in the next one, and it was also assumed that I'd be involved because I was a bit of an amateur actress.
Sebastian Knight is a little bit shy and a little bit sort of doesn't want to push himself too much, doesn't want to stand out in the crowd. He's quite happy just sitting there doing his everyday job until Jet Logan comes on board and he's forced to almost grow up.
Well, Jet Logan is, I suppose, the main character. In a sense, he is the fallen star of the piece. Because you've got Logan being kind of brash and arrogant on one side.
I'm American, I'm the best.
You've got Jenkins being nerdy and by the book on the other side. And then you've got Knight in the middle who has to kind of balance the two.
Yeah.
And
Look, Captain, you have my sincere condolences on the loss of your ship and crew, but I'm not about to hand command of my ship over to you.
Jenkins' role on the ship is to... I think he likes to play the antagonist against the captain and generally just be a bit grumpy.
Elizabeth Darling is the communications officer. Her job is to deal with any communications coming in and out of the ship, and she's also an expert at languages and various things like that. She's also the daddy's darling that was always going to be on a spaceship. She came through the academy and straight onto the mining ship and then fell in love with the captain and expected to be married within a year and hasn't been successful so far.
So we cast Jenny as Davenport, the pilot.
Susan's an ambitious, career-driven young woman. She's very neat and organised and not a lot like me. But it's good fun to play.
Charlotte wanted to be in episode 1.
Yeah.
We cast her as this small part of the red shirt.
I got involved in Fallen Star because I always wanted to die on screen, and I found it a lot harder than I thought it would be.
There's not a great deal of extras in episode 1. Logan has his 2 security aides, one of which dies off screen, played by Andy.
Yeah.
I don't think he was too keen to play the part, but was dragged him into it anyway. The other one being Volgin, who was going to be a big secret spy story behind him that never really panned out in the first episode.
I'm not shy of the camera, and I just fancied having a go really. I didn't have the biggest part, but I'll be expecting some awards.
My character is Nigel Humphreys, who is, as I best understand it, a sort of 23rd century space butler.
Sarcastic pleasantness.
Yes. That's a good way of putting it.
If you need anything else, I'll be on the bridge, sir.
Cup of tea, sir.
Yes, please, 2 sugars. Jumping my own lines here.
That's it.
Reg, we wanted sort of a bit of a geezer. So, yeah, Martin had that sort of rough around the edges sort of way about him.
Watch your lads, trenching pot's ready. Pod's ready.
I always look at Reg as being, this sort of 60s hippie man, into the music, don't give a rat's arse about authority and things like this. He's just a greaseball, isn't he? He's an engineer.
We're just a mining ship and hardly the fastest around.
Come and hold it. Just hold it close. Just sort of...
No production would be complete without appropriate costuming, and this is where Daniel and Robert enlisted the help of their co-star, Caroline Tilbury, who designed and produced several of the costumes.
Well, my remit was something very British and a bit like Star Trek, using the colours red, white and blue. That's what I was told when we think of traditional British Army, military, Air Force, Navy. We think of the Second World War. So I took my inspiration from that. So the female uniform is a pencil skirt and 3/4 length sleeves, which looks a lot like the WAF uniform.
It is slightly awkward having a pencil skirt. It's not easy to walk around or run around in.
Well, my first costume was made by Caroline.
As you can remember, the captain's shirt in the first episode had a rather wonky collar. It wasn't very good.
They're amazing, and I love them. Any excuse to wear them. They look good on Facebook profile pictures.
The original design had brass buttons all down the diagonal. I thought in the end that looked a bit too messy and not space enough.
My costume was one of only 3 which were different because they were designed as the American costumes, so they're a bit more plain. It got a bit tatty and I got a few holes under the arm because they're not really designed for moving about and doing a lot of action in.
My costume's wicked. I'd actually like that after the shooting because it would make the best pair of pyjamas.
When we first made it, it fit perfectly. And then for quite a long time it was a little bit too tight for me. But I think now it fits again. And it's slowly falling apart.
The falls overall did the job. Stank of grease.
My costume was a impressive and innovative, especially the way it split during the performance.
Having written the scripts, cast the roles, made the costumes and built the set, the pieces were all in place. Fallen Star was ready to go into production.